tell us if you're almost done.
Oh, it is 5 o'clock. Let's call the Common Council regular meeting of Wednesday, March 3rd to order. And we'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
the United States of America,
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
liberty, and justice for all.
Roll call.
Strobel.
Here.
Reamer Schneider.
Here,
Van Blaricom.
Here.
Isaacson.
Here.
Lanham. Here. Leonard.
Here.
Falcon.
Here. Okay. We move forward here. We got a public comment period. I don't know if there's any public comment. There doesn't appear to be anybody in the audience for public comment. I do have a public comment for the members of the council. I brought maps with to show different scenarios for traffic flow during the summer project that we were going to be working on starting next week. So if you want to look at them at sometime after the meeting, they'll be in my office during the week. Okay. Consent agenda items. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda items as listed. City Council meeting February 3rd, Special City Council February 24th, and Finance and Personnel Committee February 23rd.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Okay, new business, discussion recommendation, South Industrial Park update from Eric Henningsgaard. So, hello, Eric.
Hey, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I was talking with staff the other week and thought that maybe it'd be a good time to give a quick update on the project and where we're at. And so they're gracious enough to put me on the top of the agenda, which I appreciate. So I have hockey following this, so thank you for that. So I don't know, am I able to share my screen? I saw your packet as well. I know that you've got the overview of the project and the most recent schedule included in your packet, but would you want me to share my screen and talk about the different aspects? So I don't know if I have that capability or not. So we can talk through what's in your packet. So as you know, we did the segment 1 design and permitting last year and completed that. And now we're working on the segment 2 design and permitting. And so if you look at your schedule, the timing of everything is that we're going to be doing the design basically this month. And we were working on it all through last month. And then we'll be submitting some of that stuff in for permitting. So keep in mind, this is just for the segment 2 piece. Segment 1 is all been approved. So we'll be submitting permits for the segment 2, the extension into the 20 acres this month and next. And then if you look at the schedule, then it gets, the bottom part is more of the EDA tracking and how that all works and the timing of everything there. And so that really does stretch everything out. But we're hopeful if it does get stretched out, because that means that we've received the grant and that we're going to go through their process. So if you see in there that we hope to hear back from them end of this month, beginning of next, and then it kind of begins their process. And going through their process, we'd look at bidding not until July. It was. So July, and then construction late summer, early fall, if we follow that process. If we don't get the grant, then we obviously don't have to follow the EDA's process, and we'll reevaluate. And I've got a meeting set up with staff for next week. We'll talk about some of that stuff about how we set up our bidding and timing and contracts and all that kind of stuff if we don't receive the grant monies. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to give you a quick update, allow you to ask any questions. That's it. So there's not a lot that's changed. So we've got a schedule laid out that you can see.
Eric, how long do you foresee the construction taking?
Well, I think that what we would do, and we'll talk about that a little bit next week too. So if you allow the construction timeline to be longer, you can get potentially some better prices. So let's say that you don't get the grant, and you could say, hey, we want to start in May. We want the project done in September. I think that's all doable. I think you can do it in a construction season, but if you stretch that out longer, you might get more bidders, somebody a little bit more comfortable with the stretch out time, and we could talk about that staff level. But bigger companies will probably put a couple of crews on it because it's a longer stretch and kind of work simultaneously. And so we can push the schedule as short or as long as we want. Fastest it would be done is this summer, everything done.
Can you refresh my memory? Is that the entire project, or is it only the first phase of construction and then the second phase is later? I don't recall.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll bid it all together as two different alternates. And so you have the opportunity to award one or both, the segment 1 and segment 2, or just do segment 1. The current thought, or the thought that through staff and things that we've talked about, is that if EDA funds a project, then it's able to run both segments immediately, being that we've got the funds in different sources to work through both segments of the project. So that would be done as one project and not broken into segments. If EDA funding or other funding happens, or just a decision by the council, you could do just segment 1. So it'll be set up that you could do one or both.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Eric, at one time, it was talked about when we put that access road in, that there would be, there might be a frontage road on that side of 46. Is that gone by the wayside, or are we planned for that? Because it looks to me like the things start right out at 46. Is there anything?
Yeah, we talked about multiple different access points throughout the years, but the plan that we landed on and the one that we're proceeding with just does have the one access that comes off of 46, but then it provides road access for the two parcels north and south of where that segment 1 road is. The parcels that are not owned by the city, and then access also to the city-owned 20-acre piece. So no frontage road. I guess you could think of this as kind of a offset frontage road, as we go in and turn to the south, and for future extension that way. But no, just what you see there in your packet is what we're proposing.
But there is a turn lane there quite a ways, right?
Yep, part of the DOT approval, there will be a right turn in. They did not require us to do, so southbound traffic, there'll be a right turn lane. They have not required us to put in northbound traffic a left turn lane there. And that was due to the businesses on the east side and where the driveways were and that kind of thing. And so they said they didn't want it, basically.
Any further discussion?
I don't have any questions.
All right. Thank you, Eric.
Yes, thank you all.
You're welcome. Okay, next on the agenda, oath of office for our new police officer. Welcome. Yep.
Just a little bit here, I'll
Yep.
stand right here.
Yep.
This is Madeline Anderson. She's a Coal Lake resident there. For budget time this year, or last year there, the city approved it to hire a police officer there. There were 22 applicants. We narrowed that down to 10 that we wanted to interview. We interviewed 5, and through 2 interview processes, Madeline came out on top. We involved the majority of our group there. Patty sat in on both interviews with Madeline and the others there. And when we met as a group there, the consensus was that we felt Madeline would be a great fit for our department there. She's a recent graduate of the academy there. I had the pleasure of working with her for a week up there on pursuit driving and things like that. And so we're looking forward. Tomorrow will be her first day, obviously pending council approval there, but and then we'll go through the FTO process, hoping sometime May or something like that, that the FTO process will be completed there, and then we'll be up to the full staff. I thought it would be a good idea, Madeline being a new officer there. In the past, we basically hired her full-time from our part-time staff there, but in conferring with Patty there, it would be a great idea to have Madeline as a new officer to come here and get sworn in here, and then have one of her parents, pin her badge on and things like that. I think it's really important and really special for families. So
Perfect.
that's her mother and father there. So
Nice.
we ready for the oath?
Madeline.
and raise your right hand.
Madeline, just before you get away from your parents and your circle there, pull your mask down so we can see what you look like.
All
Okay,
right.
now you can go back.
We took her ID photo. We made
You can't tell anybody what anybody
Put your
looks
mask
like.
down if you want. It's kind of hard to speak and everybody to hear, but I want you to raise your right hand and then repeat after me, okay? Say I,
I,
and then state your name.
Madeline Anderson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
and comply
and comply
with the Constitution
with the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the state of Wisconsin,
of the state of
the
Wisconsin,
charter,
the charter,
laws and ordinances
laws and ordinances
of the city of Imar,
of the city of Imar,
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
of the Imar Police Department,
of the Imar Police
and
Department,
the law enforcement code of ethics,
and the law enforcement code of ethics,
and that I will faithfully, impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of my office
of my office
as police officer
as police
to
officer
the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Turn it on carefully, Dad, or you're going
Oh,
to jail.
Be the first one.
Nice.
Good job.
If I could have you just step up here, Madeline will sign the document. So.
I told them they didn't have to stay for the rest of their.
No, they can.
Oh, come on.
Well, and Madeline, I'll bring her early tomorrow.
He'll take a picture of 3 of you together, because then you can print it in the newspaper too, and
I didn't hear that.
you can use your phone to take a picture of 3 of them.
Oh, absolutely.
And then I'll have the chief of the account. Congratulations.
You're welcome.
We can go right here.
Thank you. I guess we can continue. Okay, next on the agenda is Heirs and Associates, City Center update. So, It must be Jody.
It's Jody. Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm Jody Nelson with Heirs. And I also have Braxton Meyer is on the call as well from Market and Johnson. And we're here to give you an update on the schedule and the budget. We've just completed the design development phase of the project. Since we met with you last, I believe, November or early December, we have conducted 2 rounds of user group meetings with all of the departments that are going into the building, and have gotten their input and feedback on how they would like to lay out their spaces. And after that was complete, then the design team put together design development documents, which is essentially kind of early construction documents, so that we could get a bunch of that information into a format that then Market and Johnson was able to put together a more detailed cost estimate, which Braxton can go through shortly, and see where we're at. You know, before it was more of a cost per square foot, and now we have a much more detailed estimate. After, pending approval tonight from the council to continue on and move into the construction document phase, I believe you received kind of an overview schedule in your packet. And just to kind of highlight a couple dates, we'll be working towards issuing construction documents on April 19th, and having a few weeks for bidding and the permit application, and going into through the state, getting the state review, and really looking and targeting construction starting on June 1st. If we can continue to discuss more schedule things or more in depth if there's anybody has any questions. Otherwise, if we want to go through maybe the budget and the cost estimate, and then maybe do questions after that. So Braxton, you want to take over?
Yeah, for sure. Does everybody have the budget then? I'm assuming that was sent out, or do I need to share my screen?
Is this the one from 223?
Yep, same one that we went over last week.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, just a general overview of how we got our numbers, referencing what Jody went over as well. We started with our schematic budget, which is more of a divisional breakdown based off of square footage, and then leading into our design development budget that we came up with, which was more based off of the actual takeoff of plans, and it's broken up into work categories. That's why you'll see a lot of zeros in the schematic budget, just because they don't really collate together. But the totals there do match up with the numbers we presented last time. I won't go through the entire sheet here. It's pretty self-explanatory. I know we went over it with the finance committee, but overall we're tracking right in line with where we're with the budget, sticking to that 3.5 number for the total. One area I did want to point out was we threw an alternate in there to extend the west wall of the police garage 4 feet for about $25,000. We feel that it's beneficial at that point, just based off of how small of a percentage that is towards the total of the project, and all the basically 200 square feet of extra space in that garage that you're not really going to be able to add on to later for that same value. So we threw the 25,000 in there to get us to that 3,510,347 for our design development budget. Overall, I felt the design groups did a good job, keeping us in budget and staying conservative. There's not a lot of room for scope creep. I think we're pretty comfortable with where we're at on the budget. We're sitting with about 2% in estimating and design contingency yet. Moving into bid day with that 5% construction contingency still there. But like I said, we don't want to really add anything to the project at this point. But yeah, I'll leave it there. If anybody has any questions or comments, we can definitely dive into it a little bit further. But I know we went over it last week with the finance committee as well.
That construction contingency that you have there at 5%, Is that what I'm reading?
Yep.
I don't know about you, but I've gotten letters from electrical suppliers in the last week that indicate things are going up 5% this week and 7% next week, and plastic, PVC. I haven't seen anything up on steel yet, but copper has gone up the highest in 10 years. Do you think that's still a realistic number?
I know basically the 5% is a number we usually shoot for, but yes, there is that concern of material increasing. I know basically our mechanical and electrical pricing is still slightly based off of square footage. We did update that based off of what our contractors were seeing out in the field as well, but they said they were still comfortable with the square footage numbers they gave us. I know Apex lags behind a little bit with the drawings. We like to establish the architectural, make sure we're set there, and then Apex will get a little more detailed. So it is a budget number at this point, but we are still comfortable where we're sitting with that budget number. And I know obviously, prices are going up, like you said.
Yeah, Braxton, this is Jeremy. Maybe just to add to that a little bit, we've obviously know of the inflation in the market right now. Steel is one of them. And we've taken that into consideration as best we know how at the moment into the numbers that you kind of see above the contingency lines. Certainly what happens between now and when the project bids is still a bit of an unknown. We are taking some guidance from what we're hearing in the market, but that 2% estimating contingency is really kind of what we're holding for kind of what happens between now and bid day. We really like to try to maintain that 5% construction contingency going into construction because you do have an existing building that there inevitably will be some unforeseen conditions that there's just no way for us or the design team to know of until we get in there and open some things up. So it's a great question. It's a concern that we're tracking on all our projects. We hope we've taken into account as best we're able into what we've estimated so far.
Good, thank you.
I have a question. I know that we want to add the additional 4 feet for the garage, and in the scope of the whole garage, or the whole project, that's not much. I'm curious to know, ballpark, what is it costing us to add that garage even in that location? Do you have a ballpark of what that is?
For the entire garage?
Yeah.
4, we had the number. They gave us the number. 4.
Yeah, I guess I know our original for the schematic budget, it was about 481,000 for the police garage. I guess I don't have it broken out on here, but I can definitely get you guys that number. But I would say we're probably a little under that. But if that is something you guys want, I can definitely get that number to you.
$500,000 for a garage sounds like a tremendous amount of money, but and I know the proximity is what's nice about it and all those things, but I just want us to go eyes wide open and what it's really costing for that nice factor that it's right attached to the building.
I'm guessing that cost includes the rooms that are there as well, or just the garage space itself, or the whole addition there with the storage for City Hall, and then the in-docks and the decondam area for the police department.
I would assume this way it was laid out for us.
Yeah.
Yep, it would be that whole addition.
I don't ask that question to block it. I ask that question for transparency of what, how is that building being broken apart for the $3 million? And the $500,000 is going into the garage plus the detox plus the other things. So
It beggars the question, And I too, I voted for it and I still am in favor of it, but it beggars the question when you start thinking about, how much money can a city of 2,900 afford to put into, I guess, any of the divisions that we have, whether it's fire, EMS, whatever, and still maintain, level of service without, like you say, you need to have your eyes wide open, yeah.
Another question I have is about the construction timeline. Why is it, I think I know the answer to this, but I want to understand a little bit better why we're waiting until June to get started. Is it because we just won't be ready to do that? Or is it because Bremer is currently in there, and we're trying to avoid disruption there?
Yeah, I believe Bremer is moving out the week of 5/17 was the big item. And then I know if you look at the schedule, another big ticket item was going to be the state review. So that was kind of pushing us up to that date. I think our goal is to be right on the heels of Bremer. As soon as they're getting out of there, we're jumping right in. But I think we're sticking with that 6/1 right now as just a nice date to stick with. But it could potentially be late May. But like I said, we're just giving them time to get out of there. But we'll jump in there right away.
Well, because they set up the place so we could be in there.
Yeah.
So they put in money so they could block it off. And every month that we're staying in our current location is costing us additional rent. So if we can push it ahead, let's push it ahead. That's just my opinion, but.
I agree.
Well, I thought the same thing, is there any destruction that can be done at this point in time when we've been given full access to the basement? Is there anything that can be done at this point in time without making a mess out of the future?
Right.
Well, I think we better wait for state approval.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, once we have that, we shouldn't be waiting around, holding our hand or sitting on our hands, waiting until they're out. We could be working on the entire lower level, getting that gutted and ready. But I'm not a construction
We
person,
won't get the state approval for the plans. I mean, because the bidders have to have the state plans to bid.
Yep, so that state approval is like April 19th, possibly to the end of May. So what can you do? We went through that when we did the addition out at East Emmanuel, and it took the time that it takes for the state to approve theirs. And then there are questions.
Sometimes you can hand carry them. Spooner, I don't know if these go through Spooner, I'm assuming. Sometimes you can hand carry them up there and nurse them along a little bit, but.
I guess all I'm asking is if we can start, let's start. As soon as we can start, right? Let's not wait until Bremer gets out, because.
Pretty sure all the contractors would like to do that too, because then they can nail down the cost of their materials and stuff. Yeah. So.
Is there anything in that area at this time? The basement? Like any of?
The tables.
Yeah, furniture.
Okay, and so, was, I guess, my question, if there's things there that we should be moving elsewhere, because it's gonna have to get moved. Is that something that can be done now so that we're not like, oh goodness, we're starting in a week?
Yeah, Braxton, you had mentioned the opportunity for us to maybe get trailers. I think it was you.
Yep. So we can definitely work. I know one other item that we talked about earlier on was, having to get the furniture out of there. I know a lot of that you guys are keeping, but we're gonna end up needing it out of the building, so we're not trying to work around all that or keep it nice. So we're gonna look at maybe throwing some Connex boxes in there to get a head start on that and moving stuff out so that we're ready to go. I guess just to clarify, so if we're looking to issue construction documents 4/19, it's about 6 to 8 weeks for the state review. And I put in the 30 days as the duration, which is the lower end on that. And that puts us right up to 5/28. So I think even if we're pushing them for the state review, it's still getting us towards that 6/1 date. I know sometimes you are able to work with, and get started on demo right away, get your permit application for the the demo portion of it. But, you know, you might be saving, you know, a week or two at that point, but either way, I think we're going to be in that general area for a start date.
Yeah, Braxton, one thing to add real quick, just for the whole group. You know, when we look at this building, one thing to keep in mind is, well, there's a couple restraints. One is the plans got to get done, and then we need to receive all the bids and really give you concrete numbers one more time before the project. We really start spending money there, right? We've done it different ways, but if you start spending money before the whole project costs are completely finalized, it's quite a bit of risk to take. The other thing is, it will really help having Bremer out of there. We have more work on first floor where Bremer is now than we do on the lower level or the upstairs. So to really be efficient and try to keep costs low, we do kind of need Bremer out of there. That will kind of help overall cost compared to trying to start in a few areas ahead of time and maybe not being as efficient in them. I don't know if that makes sense, but.
Any further discussion? So we need a motion to move forward and a motion to include the 4 feet in the garage, correct?
I'll make a motion to move forward. Included in that is the additional $25,000 to increase or to extend, pardon me, the west wall of the police garage, bringing the project total at this point in time, $3,510,347.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I think it's probably important to mention at this point in time, because we did have this discussion in finance as well, that that's a huge number as we're looking at it. And, you know, the thing to also keep in our minds, in the forefront of our minds, that doesn't include a lot of things. So there are this is not a number that we're going to be able to hold true to, because there are all these owner items that are added at the end, whatever furniture and equipment, possible abatements, those types of things. So while I would like to say that's going to be it, it's not. So again, going into this wide open, knowing what we're looking at, I think it's important to mention at this point in time. So.
Thank you, Sarah. So we have a motion made and seconded, and we've had discussion. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
You know, Sarah, I'm gonna include what you just said as part of your motion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Heirs.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, new business is liquor and tobacco license for IYS Ventures, DBA Imar stores at 237 Keller Avenue South, which was Freedom and changed to Marathon. And it is now IYS Ventures or Ventures.
So is it still going to be, just because I'm curious, is it still going to be Marathon?
No,
Okay.
it's Express Lane, yeah, which is Imar Stores Express Lane.
Okay, so which building is this? Is this the one that's just right
Hol-
next
Hol-
to it?
yeah, Freedom
Okay.
Station.
Because the Holiday also changed to Express Mart, am I correct? But it did not change owners. Is that what's happening? Just making sure I'm clear.
Imar's purchasing it.
Okay, just making sure I'm clear.
Yep.
Yeah, because the Marathon still stays to the south, on the south one.
Yes.
And with the
Yes.
same owner that they've had,
Okay,
same guy owned both of them.
okay,
He sold one of them.
But that did turn into express lane.
Yes, it did,
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
different signage is up, and that's why I'm making sure I'm clear on what's happening.
What's going on? Yep.
Oh,
Motion to approve the liquor and tobacco license for IYS Ventures, Imar stores.
Second.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Future agenda items, we're starting a new, moving forward with the city of Imar has changed the way they do government a little bit. Actually, it's gonna be quite a bit. We are gonna have a committee of the whole, which will be all the city council members meeting for all business to be conducted by the city council for discussion approval to move forward to city council. That'll include a committee reports,
Department head.
Reports.
personnel,
Department head.
department head reports,
Finance review.
yep. So financial review. So our next meeting is going to be the committee of the whole on March 17th, 2021, and that'll be a Tuesday night at 5 o'clock.
I have a question. Do you want to meet here or do you want to meet in the committee room for that meeting?
I think we meet here,
I think
just so we
so,
have
too.
more space to.
Yep.
spread
Yeah.
out.
Just with the
And-
department heads.
And we're gonna be recording this, so these are gonna be important meetings for everybody to be involved in.
So I think it's important that public knows basically what ends up happening is if you have something that needs to be attended to by one of the committees in the past, it's presented at this meeting. There are no longer individual committee meetings.
I have a suggestion on that though, in regard to that. And the suggestion would be that, we're not gonna have the committees obviously, but that we have maybe for a while at least maintain, Sarah, you chaired finance. So if there's a financial issue that needs to be brought to that you would be the person that would maybe headline that.
Mhm.
If there's a Parks Rec thing, I would, think that. Streets, just somebody with an
Public
area, public
Some public
safety,
safety.
yeah. But just somebody that would be a contact person to at least, if there needs to be,
If there's some continuity doing it
yeah,
that way.
yeah, maybe
That
that,
might fall away after a while, but.
it might,
Yeah.
but at least for now, I mean, because I know we're gonna have a discussion about, some things over on the river at our next meeting. That was brought, to us, but we couldn't get it on the agenda or anything, for this month, so. So from that standpoint,
I think that makes sense for the time being, and in the future, it can always
Yeah,
continue to be
maybe.
that, or refer to your alder person or
yeah,
whoever you see
Mhm.
when they're
And
not
I will
working.
reach out to every one of you to get your thoughts as to what you want to put on that agenda. So we can have a thorough discussion of everything that you feel is important.
Okay.
One other item that will be discussed at that meeting is the mayor becomes a member of the committee. He is not the head of the committee.
Yep.
The head of the committee is actually voted on by the committee. It's one of the alder persons for that. So if you're interested in that, that's going to be one of the action items. And then
That'll be right on the top, very first thing. We have to figure out who is going to
so
be that person.
council chair will chair that meeting.
It is voted on by all of you. So you'll take a vote who you want to have.
But the initial meeting,
The
the council
initial start,
president
the
will,
council
You'll start
president,
it. Yep. Yep. And then you'll have that as an action item and then.
Should I bring straws?
Yeah.
Well, it's the 17th of March, so.
It might
That's
be
St.
great.
Patty's Day.
Beware the